Mara Villalta had learned to be invisible long before she ever stepped into the glittering, glass-walled penthouse of the Calderon family. At 3 months pregnant, she moved a little slower now, her hand unconsciously brushing her abdomen whenever she felt the tiniest flutter of discomfort. She tried never to let anyone see it, especially not Damon Calderon, the CEO's only son, entitled, sharp-tongued, and accustomed to snapping his fingers for everything he wanted. The Calderons were a house of marble and secrets, yet for Mara it was simply employment. She needed the money, she needed the shelter, and after losing her husband in what she'd been told was a tragic construction accident, she had no choice. Every morning she scrubbed the same staircase Damon rushed down without even acknowledging her. Every evening, she cooked meals she never tasted and washed dishes whose reflections never smiled back. And every night, she whispered promises to her unborn baby that things would get better. She had to believe that. But that morning, the one that spiraled her life into something no one in the Calderon family could have predicted started with nothing more than a broken vase. Damon stormed into the foyer, phone pressed violently to his ear. "No, Brandon, I need the papers today. I don't care what it takes, buy the board out if you have to. I'm not letting anyone tell me how to run my father's company." He tossed the vase aside, not noticing or caring that it shattered into hundreds of jagged pieces right at Mara's feet. She bent down wordlessly to clean it. He didn't even look at her. "Unbelievable," Damon muttered as he finally hung up and noticed the mess. "This is what I get in this house, incompetence." It wasn't me, sir," Mara whispered gently, still kneeling. Damon turned, eyes narrowing. "What did you say?" She froze. She knew better than to speak back. "I'm sorry, sir," she said quickly. "I didn't mean—" "Of course you didn't," he snapped. "People like you never do." Her throat tightened, but she kept her head down. Damon stepped closer, voice dripping entitlement. "And what's with you moving so slow lately? If you're going to work here, work properly." She opened her mouth to respond, but the sudden wave of dizziness that hit her stopped her cold. Her vision blurred. She grabbed the banister for balance. Damon's expression twisted. "Are you kidding me? Are you drunk?" "No, sir," she breathed. "I'm just—" Then his gaze dropped to her abdomen. "You're pregnant." Each word came out like an accusation. Mara swallowed. "Yes, sir." "And you didn't think that was important to tell us?" He threw his arms up. "I can't have a maid fainting all over the place while investors are coming for dinner. My reputation is already on the line." Her hands trembled around the cloth she was using to gather the broken shards. "I can still work, sir, I promise." "I don't want promises," he spat. "I want competence." Then he said the words that cleaved through her like a blade. "You're fired." The room fell silent. Mara blinked slowly, her heartbeat loud enough to drown out everything else. Fired, pregnant, alone, again. "Please," she whispered. "Sir, I need this job. I don't have anyone—" "That's not my problem," Damon cut in. "Pack your things and get out before lunch. HR will deal with your paperwork." She stood, spine shaking but refusing to break. "My husband is not my concern, and honestly, considering how you're behaving, I'm not surprised he left you to raise that kid alone." Her breath caught. "He didn't leave me," she whispered. Damon rolled his eyes. "Sweetheart, men don't stay for women who bring drama and inconvenience. If he walked out, that's between you and whatever bad choices you made." Mara felt her world tilt. "My husband didn't walk out," she said, voice trembling but steady. He died. For a momentous split second, something flickered across Damon's face. Guilt, humanity, maybe even regret. But it vanished as quickly as it came. "Well, life's unfair," he replied coldly. "Security will escort you." Mara left the room, shoulders heavy, heart shattered, the baby inside her fluttering as if sensing her fear. All she had left were the 2 suitcases in the small basement room the Calderons gave her. The room she cleaned herself every night. The room she slept in, alone, thinking of her husband Mateo and the last time she saw him. What she didn't know. What Damon didn't know. What no one in that mansion knew. Was that the truth about her husband's death had never been buried. And the person who buried it was standing upstairs in a marble office, convincing himself that firing a pregnant maid was the worst problem he'd face that day. He was wrong. Because as Mara folded the last of her clothes, her phone vibrated with a message from an unknown number. 3 words. "Mara, it's Mateo." Her breath stopped. She dropped the blouse in her hand. Impossible. Her husband was dead. Dead for 8 months. Buried, grieved, accepted. She fumbled to open the message. A second appeared. "They lied to you." Her knees buckled. A wave of memories crashed through her. Mateo's laugh. His promises. The way he'd held her the night before. He left for that construction shift he never returned from. And then, the nightmares, the calls, the police telling her it was an accident. The company refusing to give details. Her trembling hand hovered over the screen. A 3rd message came in, this one attaching a photo. A photo that made every bone in her body freeze. Mateo alive, injured, but alive, and behind him, the logo on the wall, Calderon Global Development. Mara stared, breath shallow. Her husband hadn't died in an accident. He'd been hidden, hurt. And the company Damon was about to inherit had everything to do with it. And Damon had just fired the one woman whose truth could destroy his entire privileged world. Mara's phone nearly slipped from her hand as a 4th message appeared. This one a voice note. Her pulse pounded in her ears. She pressed play with trembling fingers. "Mara." The voice was faint, strained, but unmistakable. "If you get this, don't trust anyone from Calderon. I'm safe for now. But they did this to keep me quiet." She clutched her stomach, her entire world tilting off its axis. Mateo was alive. Alive. Her shock shattered into a sharp, rising fury one she had never known she carried. They lied, Damon, his father, the company. They'd buried the truth along with her hope. And now Damon had thrown her out like trash, never imagining the secret he'd tried to bury was clawing its way to the surface. Her phone buzzed again. A new message, 1 sentence, 1 threat. "Don't come looking for me. They're watching." Mara's breath shook, but her voice didn't. "Not anymore," she whispered. Because Damon Calderon may have fired her, but he had no idea what storm he had just unleashed. Damon stood in his father's office, rehearsing excuses. The board meeting was in 2 hours, and he needed support, needed leverage. His father, Gabriel Calderon, was a man carved out of steel and ambition, someone Damon had spent his life trying to impress. But when Damon walked in, Gabriel didn't even look up. "You fired the maid," Gabriel said flatly. Damon blinked. "How did you know?" "Security report, and the guests for tonight's dinner are displeased." She was slow, irresponsible, and pregnant. Damon snapped. "We don't need that kind of liability." Gabriel finally lifted his gaze-y, razor sharp. "You don't fire employees without telling me, especially not ones connected to ongoing legal complications." Damon stiffened. Legal complications? But before he could ask, Gabriel's phone buzzed. He glanced at the screen, and for the first time Damon could remember, his father's expression changed. Concern. Real concern. Gabriel rose abruptly. "I have to make a call. Stay here." He left the room without explanation. Damon stood there, confused, until his father's computer lit up with a notification, an email sent to the Calderon board, subject line, "Urgent evidence Matteo Villalta case." Damon froze. Matteo Villalta. The name echoed, slowly, sickeningly, the husband of that maid he'd just thrown out. A dread he couldn't explain crawled beneath his skin. He clicked the email, hands suddenly cold. A photo loaded, the same one Mara had received. Matteo alive, bruised, standing beneath the Calderon Global logo. Damon's heart slammed against his ribs. No, this can't be real. But another message appeared on the screen, a text alert. From unknown. He's alive, and she knows. Damon stumbled back as if struck. Mara stood at the bus stop outside the Calderon estate, wind tugging at her hair. Her suitcases sat beside her, silent witnesses to a life she'd been forced to abandon. But she wasn't the same frightened maid Damon had fired that morning. Her husband was alive. Her baby would know the truth. And Damon Calderon, the man who mocked her grief, her pain, her pregnancy, was about to learn a truth of his own. Some women break quietly, others rise. Mara wiped her tears, lifted her chin, and whispered to the smallest life inside her belly, "We're going to get him back." Inside the mansion, Damon paced the office like a trapped animal, panic replacing arrogance with every passing second. Because behind all the entitlement and cruelty, he knew one thing for certain. If the truth came out, it wouldn't just destroy his reputation, it would destroy everything. And Mara Villalta, the woman he thought he had crushed today, was the only person alive who could bring his world down, and she was already walking away.